Have you noticed how much talk there is these days about stress? And it's not only talk, there's also books. Hundreds, thousands of books come out each year on the topic. And I'm hoping actually that this year my own book will be available, but I haven't finished writing it yet because I'm still contemplating a few essential questions. Because why is it that with all these meaningful books, articles in newspapers, talks on TV, radio, why is it that stress is still such a huge problem and becoming more and more of a nuisance every day? Did you know that 70 to 90% of all visits to a doctor these days are related to stress, directly or indirectly? 70 to 90%. That stress has become the second most common work-related health problem in Europe. And that 1 in 10 employees in Belgium is currently at risk of a burnout, including doctors. Actually, female doctors 2.5% more. It was this week in the news. So, 1 in 10. The World Health Organization says that by 2020, this will be 1 in 5. That's in less than 3 years' time. 1 in 5 employees at risk of burnout, which is stress-related. The human cost is enormous. Financial cost, 600 billion euros in Europe alone. That's more than the Belgian deficit. Now, one has to ask the question, and certainly I have to ask this question. I'm an osteopath, a stress coach. I work with people who have stress-related ailments. I talk about stress, I write about stress, so I have to ask the question, why has stress become such a nuisance? Is it because as human beings, we always wait till there is a crisis before we start to do anything about it, just like we did with global warming? Or is it that we are unsure of who is responsible? And we are waiting, for example, for our employer to do something about it, the government to do something about it, or society. Somebody must do something about it. Is stress the problem to solve? Because we have written so much about it and still it doesn't make any difference. All the solutions are in all these books I showed you, and still it's not making a difference. So we have to go through to 3 essential questions. What is stress? Why has stress become a nuisance? And what can we do about it? Now, what is stress? Stress is part of an adaptation response. Basically, my body must adapt to situations in my environment. That is, if I want to wake up in the morning, or if there is an action required, or there is something dangerous that I need to survive, well, my sympathetic nervous system must switch on. That means that I get some more adrenaline and some more noradrenaline into my bloodstream. My heart starts racing, my blood pressure goes up, my muscle stands up. And what also happens is that my digestive tract, the vascularization of my digestive tract reduces. That's the first thing that happens. A little bit afterwards, cortisol comes in the game. Another hormone made by my serenal glands. It's like a hat on a kidney, a bit like a gnome's hat. Releases cortisol, which will have an effect on my insulin. It will prevent insulin of storing energy. I know, I'm into an action mode. I mean, I need to survive. I need energy into my bloodstream. I'm not going to store it. So that's the first thing of cortisol. The second thing cortisol does is it shunts your immunity system. Takes too much energy, so that we're going to put down. And it also has some serious impact into your function and the function of your brain, the structure and the function of your brain. So all of that happens nearly in an instant. When you're in the middle of the road and you see that car coming, what shouldn't you do? oh, there is a car coming, or think about your next meeting, or about sex. So all of that, no, you need to jump to get out of the way, not thinking. So the whole stress response is there to survive the body. So when you're on the other side of the road and danger is over and your brain perceives that, or when you're doing something nice, well, the ease response must be activated. And the ease response is all about parasympathetic activity, heart rate goes down, blood pressure goes down, shoulders or my muscles relax. My digestive system comes back on track, and my immunity as well. And maybe I can think about sex again. Stress and ease response. This is part of an adaptation response. It's essential. It's part of being human. But we need to spend time in both. Fight and flight, recuperation and regeneration mode. Now, why has stress become a nuisance? Well, for that we have to go way back into time, into the moment where we were able to manipulate fire. I know none of us were there at the time, but just imagine, as soon as we were able to manage fire, we were able to change our environment to our needs. Before we were adapting to the environment, now we were able to change the environments to make life easier. Now we gotten really good at that. We changed and we had something called an agricultural revolution, a technological revolution, or an industrial revolution, and now we're in the telecom and the information revolution. With each revolution coming, as you can see, faster and faster, and with it, it brought more and more changes into our environment. Just have a look how the iPhone or the smartphone, who is 10 years old this year, how that has changed. The way we communicate, the way work and home is organized, and so forth. It's enormous. This tool, it's like we are adapting to a tool now. It's that tool that is changing our environment and our culture. But all the while that this environment is changing, we, on a biological level, haven't. Because what do you need for genetics, genes to change? Well, you need a stimulus. Where is the stimulus? And here lies the crunch. Some researchers are saying, are we actually, as human beings, still evolving? Is there still a need to evolve? No, we have outsourced that to technology. Technology is doing that for us. That is now responsible of the adaptation. When there is a difficulty, oh no, we're going to make ourselves easier, we make a tool for that. It's much easier, you don't have to bother so much. But in the meanwhile, while we have outsourced our adaptation response over a long time, as we can see, and also with things coming faster and changing faster and faster, the body hasn't even got time to change at all because it needs stimulus and generations. We haven't really made the right adaptation responses to cope with the environment that we've created. So stress is a symptom of a conflict between biology and culture. The culture that we have created is one that really goes from stress into stress. But what did I just say what this stress response does when this is on? Well, it was increasing my heart rate, my respiratory rate increases, my blood pressure increases. Well, if it's like this all the time, are you then surprised that we get sick? That there are cardiovascular problems? First signs, the first alarm signs that I want to share with you is like disturbed sleep or insomnia, mood swings, memory loss. And also when that, for those people who have migraines, when that migraine comes in a little bit more often, these are alarm signs saying from my stress response might be a little bit too much on compared to my regeneration and recuperation. If you don't take care of that, well, Crohn's disease, ulcers in your stomach, and so forth will happen. It's just the logical consequence. And if that doesn't scare you, stress has a serious impact on your brain. Actually, it changes the structure of your brain, and your brain shrinks thanks to stress. Well, how does the stress, indeed, for those men, size does matter in the brain. So what happens when your brain shrinks? Like, let's show that, because I like these kind of graphic things, really put it into your memory. Well, this is a shrinking brain. So we do that again, because, the first time is always a bit, oh, what? What am I looking at? You're looking at that white matter. It reduces those sides, it becomes a bit more brownish. Well, of course, it's all about cortisol and the influence on your vascularization of your brain. Which part of your brain needs blood, oxygen, and glucose? Well, it's the center of your brain. Where is it going to get that? Well, from the outside of the brain. That's where you think, that's where you have your charisma, that's where you have your productivity and your genius thinking. Well, we have to start rethinking thinking, because on a stressed brain, thinking becomes quite difficult. That rationality is gone. It's all about instinct. And it's all about voting for Trump. I'm thinking there is a link between stress levels and the way we vote. So, basically, we are in a human overshoot hour. The demands on the human beings, as we know it now, the way we run things, is just too great. The demands on us are too great for the resources that we have. And where have we seen that again? Where is this also happening? Well, Earth Overshoot Day. It's the 8th of August, where we used all the resources the Earth can deliver in 1 year. Last year, it was the 8th of August that we used up all the resources the Earth can produce in 1 year. This is a stressed Earth. It's also a body. And who's suffering also? It's not only us, the Earth. What about the animals? Certain animals, they develop, their evolution is 200,000 times slower than the rate of climate change. Now, we are facing a challenge. This is what we have at the moment. The way you think, it might be different, but the way it's about your body. Sometimes your mind says it's all okay, but your body says a completely different story, because we are disconnected from our body so much. This is the life we lead. Stress into stress leads to illness, very logical. Now what we need to do is change something. We need to switch on that ease response. Reset, to return to ease. I've got a name for that, reset. It doesn't exist in the dictionary. So maybe because putting a word on it, maybe we're going to do it. We're going to do something about it. Because health, you might have all the potential, but just like food, it doesn't come to you. Food you have to put in your mouth. You have to nourish yourself. You have to drink. It's something you have to do. You have to clothe yourself. Health is the same thing. It's something you have to do. It's not something that just comes to you. Not anymore. Not in that society, not in that environment that we are today. This is crucial learning, what we have to do. We have to start thinking about this again. Just how to take these reset moments that your body can recuperate and regenerate. And the difficulty from a stress coach point of view is that you all are different. There is not one solution. But what you can do is to think about that middle part. What does it have to do in you? It has to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. It means that your heart rate must go down, your blood pressure must go down, your breath rate must go down. Let's think about it. If you tell me, I'm going running, heart rate goes down in running, no, forget it. It's not part of stress management. It's not part of ease. If you say to them, I'm going to watch a horror movie, and I say to them, sorry, heart rate goes up, it's not a horror movie either. You have to find things for you. Be mindful of your body. Breathing exercises is okay. We have to put ourselves back into the center. You know, the center of the universe, it's the human being. We have to put ourselves back in there, and everything like this becomes, it's supporting us. But we have to put ourselves back into the rightful place that we rightfully own. Life in the center. It is only you can do that for you. Don't wait for anybody else. And if you wait for society, you're waiting for yourself because you are society. This is the simple truth. What is stress? Well, stress is an essential adaptation response. But why it's become a nuisance? Because biology and culture are in conflict at the moment. That environment and this body hasn't had the same development. What can you do about it? You know what you can do about it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to some questions later on.